any stragglers, and then we'll begin. Got a lot to cover today in going over how to punch harder. So welcome and thanks for coming, guys. Yeah, there's a lot to cover. I'm going to go through all the different components you need to put in place to develop, immense, devastating punching power. However, if we have time at the end, I'll do an actual training with it as well. But first things first, you've got to understand all the principles involved to actually develop that type of power as well. So give it 1 minute. And I'll open up for questions at the end too. So if you have any questions, write them down. Maybe chuck them in the comments, and I'll get to them at the end because I might answer them throughout explaining all the different components. But thanks once again for coming, guys. I appreciate you spreading the good Wing Chun. Dave, thanks for coming. Matthew, Jeffrey, Adam, Melissa, TJ. All right, we might as well get started. Okay, here it is. Alrighty, so in regards to punching harder, there's several different pieces we want to be keeping in mind. The first thing is simply, punching choice. So what? Look, if you can develop power, you can apply it to anything, but you do want to have one place where you cultivate that precisely. And my personal choice is the chain punch from Wing Chun. I believe this is the best thing to develop your devastating power. And why? Because it's defensively responsible, fast and direct, and it's something which you can cultivate until you're dead. Meaning, you want to learn your self-defense skill based on something that you can use for the rest of your life. Like as you get older, younger, stronger, fitter, more athletic opponents are going to beat you if you're using athletic style attacks, right? So I like the chain punch because it's quite defensively responsible. So you cover your center, you've always got to cover, you take the most direct path, and it gives you a way to engage and contact the opponent. So initially the actual choice of weapon you're going to develop, so the punch choice is important. And after reflection, you look at all the different types of, you've got left hook, right cross, all the different uppercuts. You've got so many different types of punches. The chain punch is one which doesn't require strength, flexibility, speed. So punch choice is an initial important one. That's why the chain punch is, my favorite. Sure, I'm a Wing Chun guy, but I've done boxing, taekwondo, and other arts as well. So the punching choice is the first thing. Now, after punch choice, you've got to keep in mind that, massive amounts of repetition are required. So this is a principle, and it's something that you're going to want to keep in mind. So, think about the whole Bruce Lee concept of 10,000. I do not fear the man who's done 10,000 kicks once. I fear the man who's done one kick 10,000 times. So whatever the weapon of choice that you're going to develop power in, you want to be sure that you're going to be repeating that a lot, right? So once again, that's why the chain punch is a good one in that regard, because you can repeat it many times, and it's also within the forms as well. Now, if I bring it to the end of the actual story, meaning what's the ultimate way for you to achieve maximum power, then it's the state. The essence of it is the state. Now, for those of you who don't know what the state is, the state is a mental, energetic, emotional, and physical condition. It's a condition that you cultivate from the form and the meditative practice from the Wing Chun system, where it integrates the body, the etheric or energetic body, which we'll get into soon. You can see a picture of it there, the mind, into maximizing power. Now, the side effect of cultivating the state is a level of control of the thoughts and emotions. So you can start to actually, just feel good and balanced and in control in life. So a sense of peace, calm, and emotional and mental control. So the state is the essence of your power generation. That's the number one thing. However, the state is built up of components which come together. So we'll come back to that. So number one, punch choice. And the chain punch for me is the wisest decision for long-term skill development, meaning till you're dead. Number two, repetition. Number three, something to be taken into account is structure and mechanics. So, your body structure, meaning your actual bone system, which you can see there's a picture up there. Yeah? Understanding and using the bone structure is the gateway to the state. Meaning if you can use your bone structure efficiently, that's the stepping stone to the state. So the way my master put it was, you start off using muscle, that's stage one. Stage two is you start to use structure, and stage three is you use the state. So it starts off muscle, then skeletal, which is like the gateway, and then state, which is the mind and the chi or energy to cultivate power. So your structure, not just your structure, but also the mechanics of the structure, how to actually use and move the structure correctly. So I'll go over them all just quickly, then I'll go a bit deeper into each one, then we'll do an exercise at the end, which you guys hopefully can continue to practice each day and really start to develop your punching power. All right, so structure and the mechanics of that structure. Now, the next thing is the important part, which is the actual, the energetic body and the mind. So the state uses your mind, your mental center, and your energetic body in unison together to cultivate power. So the state, like I was saying, uses your energy, or also known as chi or prana, whatever you want to call it, and your mind together to bring out maximum power from your body. And there are several types of energy that you're looking to align with and utilize. Now, the first one is called intention. So the first type of energy is intention energy. Now we often talk about intention energy as highest intention or even spiritual intention, and this is a massively overlooked part of skill development in internal Kung Fu. It's the level of energy of the practitioner. It's the level of consciousness of each person. Not every person has the same level of energy. Think of it this way. You see that angry fucker that's always complaining, stressed out, and worried about life. His level of energy is less than the person that you meet that's always joyful, enthusiastic, and positive. My master was always joyful and had a great level of wisdom. So his natural level of power was quite high, which was why it was very easy for him to manifest this internal state power. Now, you can see this. You can see this mapped out. I've gone over this in other lessons, but you can see this mapped out in the map of consciousness, the different levels of energy, right? So here's the levels of energy, also the level of consciousness. Down the bottom, you've got shame, guilt, apathy. Up the top, you've got joy, peace, enlightenment. Now, the higher you go on that scale, the greater amount of power you can generate. So this is what we'll call your intention energy. So you must be aligned with a higher intention in order to start to get your quality of energy, of power, rising upwards. And I observed that within because I was, the last 10 years of training with my master, the people that were really filled with desire and pride, that really wanted the skill for selfish reasons, their skill would go backwards, even though they were training a lot. So they'd actually get worse because they were focused in the wrong way internally. So setting your intention to a higher frequency, peace, joy, courage, love, power, prosperity, freedom, tends to bring out the power of the mind and the energy in a much faster way. And I've observed that in students over time. Now, so you got intention energy. The next is centering. So how to use your center correctly. The center. Now the center essentially is your spine. So from the tailbone to the crown. As you advance, it's actually from the earth down in the floor because you want to activate the legs. And the center is the bone structure, the nervous system within it, the energetic meridians from the central meridian, and also the chakra system. So when you center yourself, essentially you're setting up the structural component, you're getting into the spine, so you can use the spine for the support for the limbs, but also you're starting to connect to the energetic qualities as well. meaning you're connecting to the central meridian and also the chakra system, the energetic system, which is where we start to develop our power from. So ultimately in our system, we develop the power from the center. It's been described as what's called a floating center, yeah? Which is an important point. So the floating center teaches us that the power does not come from the floor. The power doesn't come from bracing ourselves or pushing off other objects. It comes from our center of mass, which is floating in space, which allows you to rebound power at a person as opposed to have to absorb it. Now, the way that's cultivated, once again, is from the state, but a massive component of that is centering yourself correctly. So the way we do that is softly drawing up at the anus, sensing the actual center from the tail to the crown. So you put your concentration to sense it, like feeling your feet on the floor, the sensing. Then you can imagine it filled with light. But then the next component is actually combining the last point with this one, meaning combining intention with centering. So in watching my master for a decade and still watching videos of him, he was talking about passing mind power and chi into the opponent, which is how he was able to generate enormous power, and that's how you're going to be able to generate enormous power in your striking, by using the mind, energy, and your center in alignment with the target. So if you watch whenever he was describing how he would demonstrate power or put power on someone, he would always say, I put my chi to him, or I place my mind on him. So if you look at his actual physical movements, he was always placing his hand on the center and then pointing to them. So what you want to be doing is, as you center yourself, concentrating on your intention. So your intention is that frequency, peace, power, joy, love, courage, whatever it might be, and your center is what I just explained, earth, tail, crown. Now, as you focus on your center, so your attention is on your center, and you are in alignment with the frequency of what you're looking to develop on a mental or spiritual level, that's what you start to do, what's called infusing the spirit into the center. So the floating center and the infusion of spirit into the center are linked. Now, this was quite vague to me when I first started out training. Like I used to read my master's articles over and over every day, trying to figure out what the fuck he was on about, because it was quite vague, like infuse the spirit into the center, put the spirit into the spirit. What the fuck does that mean, right? However, on study and practice and observation over the last 2 decades, it started to become very clear. We align ourselves with our highest intention, which is the spirit side, whatever that might be. And the way to know that is via your emotional quality. So how do you feel? How do you feel moment to moment? If your feeling quality is in an upward scale, meaning you feel good, or you feel better, meaning you might feel shit, right? So you change your attention onto something which feels better, or you align yourself with something which feels good. So the alignment with higher intention results in a good emotional quality. When you have that, so I'll just mute everyone so that doesn't change the screens. So when you align yourself with that good emotional quality, so you feel a sense of good feeling, as you center yourself, then you will be conscious that you are centered in your intention, or you can also call that, Melissa, do you mind muting yourself? Then you will also be infusing the spirit in the center and getting centered in your intention. Now that's a huge part of it. If you're not aware in your center, and if you don't have that good, you are linking the intention and the energy in the center, then the power generation is not going to be nowhere near as gigantic as your potential. Okay, so floating center, infusion of the spirit into the center. So I've gone a bit deeper than I thought I would on that point, but we'll come back to it. All right, so centering your intention is the infusion of spirit into the center. It's actually pretty damn simple. I know it might sound a bit complicated, but it's not. You put your concentration in your center, so you focus there. The same way you focus on watching television. It's the same thing, it's focus. You concentrate and you sense your center. And then you bring your mind to a good feeling, yeah? If you want to train that. You want to train the ability to control your emotional quality. You know, and as you get into that good quality of feeling in your center, that gets a good flow through your system, right? So you center in your intention. The next component is sensing. So what you want to be training, and this is something that should become habitual over time, is the depth of awareness in each atom of your body. Because if you think about it, maximizing power means maximizing the potential you have within you, meaning physically, energetically, emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. So to maximize punching power from both a physical and energetic standpoint, you want to be keenly aware of your body and the energy within it. So the body and its space. Now that's where sensing comes in. So right now, if you feel your feet on the floor if you're standing or your butt on the seat, that's a sensation, right? So you want to keenly and deeply be aware of the sensations in your body and space. So you can sense your whole legs, you can sense the hips, you can sense your torso, your arms, your legs, your neck, your head. You can sense the whole space. Now, the sensing allows you to activate and use that for intelligent direction, so you can direct it all for power generation. But also it allows you to start to melt out any tension points, because tension points in the system will be blockages. And blockages will mean that your power won't be fully translated into the opponent. So by sensing, you start to open the doorways of complete relaxation. In internal Kung Fu, they call it sung, or in just standard Cantonese, they say fong sung, which means like relax / let go. So sensing is your tool to begin the process of releasing tension points in your system. Not only that, it gives you awareness of the points in your system that you can start to actually, control as well and direct. So for example, sensing into a joint for the rotation of it, or sensing into the space of the body so you can direct it intelligently into the target, which we'll go into a bit later. So sensing, that's something you cultivate in the meditative condition, but also in the form practice as well. Now, the next part is syncing. Look, there's a lot of information in this, so I'll get a summary of it and put the video up for you guys so you have it to, if you want to review it and go over it. Because I know there's a lot, but this is how to generate devastating power. It's not, okay, take a tablet and it happens, or do a fart and you'll get it. You've got to understand the principles and the concepts, and you have to develop the skill to do so. Alrighty. Syncing. Syncing essentially is the movement of energy. So everything is in a constant state of movement. Nothing actually stands still, even though it looks like it does, meaning all the atoms and cells within it are in a constant state of motion. Now, in that regard, we move energy within ourselves, subconsciously mostly. So the syncing energy is the energy that facilitates motion. So every movement you do is facilitated by this type of energy. It's called kinetic energy, or kinetic ether to be more specific, and moving chi, or syncing, or chum they call it in the context that we use it. So syncing initially starts off, and you want to be able to sense first, of course. Syncing initially starts off as like a downward internal shower in our system. That we do use it in different ways as well, but initially it's a downward release. Now the reason you do that downward release is to encourage and potentiate depth of relaxation. In order to move fast, in order to move powerfully, I'm not talking about force, because you can get your muscles really tense and to deliver a lot of force, but to deliver power and to place that precisely, your muscles must be relaxed. You must release all forms of tension. Now, syncing is multi-layered, and syncing facilitates that release. So the three basic levels of syncing are energetic syncing. So if you imagine a shower washing down through your body, that's energetic syncing. Then you have emotional syncing, which is a similar thing, like an energy washing down through you, but you're syncing emotionally, meaning you're letting go of any type of negative emotions from the lower parts of the scale to open up your system, meaning frustration, anger, fear, doubt, worry, stress, blame, complaint. All of those emotions are essentially linked to physical tensions in your system. So you're looking to let go or sync energetically, emotionally, and then thirdly, mentally. because you can have mental blockages as well, like thought programs and beliefs that don't actually serve your highest potential. They may be working as blocks in your system, you know, like a doubt in yourself, or a I'm not good enough to achieve this type of power, so on and so forth. So syncing is multi-layered. It's energetic, emotional, and mental, meaning you want to be able to sync through your whole system and clear out any type of energetic, physical, emotional, and mental blockage. That's the function of syncingness. Now, one side note is that syncing is a natural thing. Like when you sit on the sofa, your body wants to just release and relax. When you throw something in the air, it wants to come down. So syncing is a natural thing. It just requires alignment with it. It's not something you want to force. Sync! You don't want to be trying to force yourself to sync. That's the opposite of what we're looking to achieve. So that's the syncing component. Now, next is seeing. Wish I had colors. I can only find a black texture. Oh well, you probably can't even fucking see that, can you? Oh well, hopefully you can. All right, so seeing. Now, seeing is the visual component, and this is linked to what they'd say is like hung or focus, you know. Every thought and every emotion has a visual component in the mind's eye. What we're looking to do is to make that conscious, so to be aware of the images that are within our mind's eye. You know, and most of us aren't paying attention to our internal world and aren't noticing the images within our mind. Meaning, you know, we're so focused on the physical domain that we don't notice what's going on the mental domain, the visual, in our own mind's eye. So, you know, for example, I use this example a lot because it's quite easy, is think of someone you love, right? Put them in your mind, and you can see them in your mind, right? You have a feeling and an image in your mind of that person, and as you see them in your mind, notice the emotional quality in your system. See, observe how it starts to affect your emotional quality. So that image influences you and your actual condition. And then if you start to now think of someone that doesn't like you or you don't like them and hold them in your mind, notice the shift in your quality of energy once again, how it starts to move in a different direction. So that's an easy example to observe how these internal images affect us. And they not only affect us on an emotional level, but they affect us on our ability to generate and output power, which is what the topic of today is how to punch harder. And the essence of it is the state. There are other things, like I said, repetition and the punch choice, which also links to stance and structure and precision, but we'll go into that later. But the most important thing is cultivating your state. Now, all of these components, if we take a step back now and bring it all together, is come together to make that the state. So number one, centering in your intention. So getting that good feeling quality and being conscious of your center. Softly draw up, sense your center, and get in alignment with a good feeling quality. You want to train that until it becomes natural. So you just feel that you're in a good condition most of the time, or you can influence your condition via the direction of your focus, right? So you focus on something that feels good while you concentrate in your center. The next component is sensing. Sensing, but also sensing is linked to the syncing. So the ability to sense your space deeply and catch all the numb points and the tension points via awareness. And then the ability to sync out or align with the syncingness that dissolves physical, emotional, mental, and energetic tensions. Then seeing, the ability to bring this all together and target it. So seeing links to the targeting component, which leads to power. You know, targeting, connecting, pointing, aiming, these are all different words for the same thing. So essentially, like this line here, yeah? Targeting. You want all of your being to be focused into the one line. So if you think of actually I'll just take you over here to look at this picture. So you want all of your power focused just like this. Just like this guy. Now, you'll notice that you'll see there's like a little funnel down the center here. That's how you want your focus to be. You sense your whole space. You sink down, you align your center, the good feeling, but you funnel all the power, all of your intention The whole state should be funneled down that line. So this is a key component in maximizing punching potential, is that everything is focused through this line. So wherever, and maybe my strike's going this way, even though my sensor's pointing this way, but all of my power will still be focused on that line. So every ounce of your whole being will be focused down that one direct plane. This is the kind of key idea that many people talk about in Wing Chun, is the center line, you know, but majority of systems just say, yeah, your hands stay on the center line and that's it. But it's much deeper than that. It's getting in alignment with your center, getting a good feeling in your center. From there, focusing everything down this one plane. So you have this, you know, tsunami of power that flows through your system and dominates this line. That'll allow you to control an opponent once you make contact with them, and also strike through anything that's in the way. So yeah, that's the function of the seeing, meaning that's in regards to power generation, is firstly to be able to notice the thoughts and the qualities and how they affect us energetically, and then being able to target them precisely. Precision of targeting, meaning the precision of your body's mass, momentum, intention, and energy is one part, meaning everything should be precise into their center, but then the precision of your movement also, meaning, okay, if you can't, you know, actually hit the target because you're not precise with your movement, then what's the point? You have all the power in the world, but you can't hit the target, then it doesn't matter, right? It's useless. So that's precision in another relationship to seeing. So that all comes together into the state. Yeah. This is the kind of ultimate, you know, your spiritual intention, highest intention, your center, bringing it to the center, sensing the space, syncing the movement of energy, seeing the visualization, all culminated into the state, the whole piece. Now, that's culminated through your, once again, through your meditation and your form training. However, looking at the other components for power generation, you want to be, okay, looking at the choice, which is the chain punch we're talking about, but also the stance as well. So your stance is a foundational part of it too. So taking a step back a little bit. The Wing Chun stance, the stance that we use is the physical representation of the culmination of all your power into the target. So your knees are softly bent, your toes are slightly pointed inwards, like imagine these are your feet, right? They're pointed slightly inwards. The knees are softly bent, so you have a springiness. The spine is upright, you know, and everything's focused forward down this center plane, right? So the stance cultivates the state, and the state cultivates the power of the stance. They work together. So my master would say, once you have the state, you no longer need the stance, but the stance helps you cultivate it. So that's that simple task. If you guys can really just, when you're doing dishes, when you're at the bus stop, when you're hanging around, whatever, any moment where you can, just rest into your stance. Now, key point here is make sure your stance doesn't feel tense in your hips and knees, and your sensation should be forward down the center. You want to feel a lightness and a forwardness with your stance, not a stuckness and a downwardness, which you see in a lot of Wing Chun stances. They're kind of like sitting down and tense. And you know, whenever you touch hands with someone who has a stance like that, it's just rubbish. It's just tense, and you can bump them around very easily. It should feel natural. Should be more like a straight line from shoulder, hips, and knee. And there should be a looseness to it, so you feel like you can just move at any point in time. It shouldn't feel tight or locked up. Okay, so the stance is another component there. So they're all the different pieces. One last thing, which once you know all of the underlying principles, what you're looking to cultivate, is slow, precise training. Slow. Oh, I got a little bit of room down here. Slow. So training extremely slowly. Now, the reason why really slow, precise training helps cultivate power, so I'm talking like, you know, hardly noticing that the fist is moving. So I'm actually moving now, but you hardly notice it, right? That kind of speed. Now, the reason this is important in power generation is because it allows you to connect all the pieces of the state into the movement. But if I'm going to be very precise about what in particular we're looking to do, apart from the fine motor control that's developed through the slow movement, but it's also the ability to sync out and dissolve tension points throughout the whole movement. So from the beginning of the movement here to the end of the movement here, your ability to stay centered in a good feeling and consciously use the center to sense and sync out the tension points along that pathway of movement. So from here to here, right? Being able to this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. Because if you're moving really slowly, you are still moving within space. And if you're able to stay centered in your intention, feeling good, so your consciousness is in your center, and from that you're sensing and syncing as you slowly move, you're building those pathways in the brain and the body on a physical standpoint to be able to be sung, to be relaxed, to be released along every point of the actual punch pathway. So my master, he was renowned for practicing the form so slowly that you couldn't see him move, to the point where the other students would apparently just laugh at him, think, oh, look at this guy, what's he doing? But then within a year or two, he was fucking everyone up, you know? So the guy who was just standing there doing slow form was the guy who ended up bashing everyone, who could handle everybody. Because he was willing to do because let's be honest, doing the form slowly at first is quite boring, right? But once you develop a connection to all the parts of the state, it becomes joyful. It's like holy fuck stickers, like you feel this sense of electricity and an uplifted emotion, literally like a sense of joy while practicing, while going into the state. And having that feeling and being in that condition, yeah, it really is a joy of life. It's like, because you feel joyful. You don't really need anything, you don't want anything, you're just there experiencing the power that flows through your system. Because once you cultivate this condition, once you unlock the center, so you're connected to it, and you've got a sense of alignment with your higher intention, and you start to notice the flow of energy through your system, you know, it does become one of the joys of living, which is exactly how my master described it. Like once you understand the Silim Tao, it becomes a joy of living. The Silim Tao is the form work. So, you know, you don't precisely do need the form. If you want to be an all-rounded fighter, then yes, you should learn the form, because it teaches you all the auxiliary movements to defend against anything that comes in. However, you could just instance do chain punches and develop the state, theoretically, if you wanted to cultivate just a powerful punch. So, in summary, that's pretty much everything. Repetition, your stance, the punching choice, the state, the structure and the mechanics, using the mind and one's energy in all of its forms to manifest the most potential power you can. So that's pretty much it there on the kind of theory side behind it on how to punch harder. I'll open it up for questions now, and then we'll actually do a state and punch training, so you get an experience for what to do, and that will give you something that you can continue practicing. What I'd suggest is you just practice it forever. Just do it every day for the rest of your life, and then you're guaranteed, absolutely guaranteed, if you practice every day for the rest of your life, even if you just do fucking 10 punches a day for the rest of your life, that's going to amass over the years, you know. Over 2.5 years, you would have done 10,000 punches, right? If you just do 10 a day. Multiply that, do 100 a day. Fuck it, do 1,000 a day. You know, and it doesn't actually take that long, you know, to do this. You can do it, if you want to be lazy, do it while you're watching television, right? Just aim at one of the characters and do it, right? And cultivate it that way, you know, so that you can start to maximize the power you generate. So yeah, coming back to the foundation of it all, if you can't be consistent and you can't practice it over time regularly, you won't develop. Alrighty, so you can chuck your questions in the chat, or you can open up and ask, that's fine. Let me see. Would you do any of these exercises with an external target in front of you, such as a punching bag? Yeah, good question. 1 second. Yeah, you can, so I've done it both ways. You can do it just in space, so you're working on the state and the precision without a target, or you can do it with a bag as well. So I mean, majority of your practice should be state training, you know, I'd say probably about 70%. And then you can do the punching onto a bag as well. And you can even just do it to a target. So, you know, you can just place your hand at the end point onto a wall, you know, so you feel that connection to an object, right? So yeah, you do actually can hit it there. One second, got a further questions. Is there kind of feedback to know whether you are going in the wrong or right direction? Great question. I have to turn it sideways. Fucking 1 sec. Oh shit. All right, here we are. Okay. How do you know you're going in the wrong or right direction? You'll know you're going in the wrong or right direction by using the sensing. So you want to culminate the development of the sensing energy. The sensing is so what I'm getting at is, often people go in the wrong direction when they're not sensing their actual space. They're thinking about what they're doing. That's what I've observed with students over the years, is that when someone's just thinking about it, they can often go the wrong direction because they'll be imagining they're doing it one way when they're actually doing it another. So even yesterday I was training with someone and I was doing some looks out with him and he was thinking forward. You can see he was completely out of his body. He was like, meaning not in the sensing, but he was pushing, right? So it was very easy to bump him off. I communicate to him, okay, go back into sensing your space. And when he sensed his space, like, oh shit, I am tense. So sensing is your first way to notice if you're going the wrong direction, and to be very honest with yourself in regards to what you're sensing. So, okay, what is sensing? Am I sensing deeply enough? Can I? So that's a good way to notice if you're going in the wrong direction, through sensing. Now, another way to notice is via your emotional quality. So if you're feeling a level of frustration, anger, or desire, or you don't feel good in your emotions, often that means you're building up tension within your system. So number one, sensing. So being very present to the sensing of the space. Number two, emotional quality. If you notice your emotions are going in the wrong direction, you probably are going in the wrong direction. So what that means is you should be feeling good or feeling better. Meaning, if you can sit and rest in a good feeling, then that means the frequency through your system will be expansive. Because all the levels of power, like we spoke about earlier, the levels of power, so above, so you've gone out of anger, fear, worry, doubt, desire, pride, all that caca, right? You've used those intelligently and you're not stuck in them. You've used them as a communicator to, okay, I don't want to stay in that frequency. I want to go into an upward frequency. Why is that important? Because the lower frequencies are force and they contract. They deplete and contract energy. The levels of power, which are communicated via a good feeling, are expansive. So if you're in a good feeling and you're feeling expansive, then you'll notice that as you sense your body, the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, the muscles, everything feels open and relaxed. So the quality of energy you're using to develop your state is of one of power. That's important, because if you're stuck in a frustration and an anger and you're just forcing your way through it, you will get worse. You will get worse. Like I've seen it. Literally a couple guys at my master's place were getting worse and they were training the most. Whereas some of the dudes that would come in and train very little, 2 or 3 times a week, would be getting better quicker. So it was quite perplexing because, most people think, oh, you've got to just push really hard and do it as much as possible. Yes, quantity of training helps, but quality of training is also very important, meaning, coming back to the initial question, how do you know, is there feedback to know if you're doing it wrong? The 2 main ways are via sensing. Both the sensing is more of a sensory experience. It's not feeling or emotive. It's just, okay, my feet on the floor. That's not I feel good about my feet on the floor. It's just kind of neutral, right? And then the emotional quality is the other way, because how do I feel on an emotional level? And remember, because you'll know that you're in the right zone, because Silnum Tao is one of the joys of living, remember? So if you're not feeling a sense of joyfulness with it, that means your mind is focused on something which isn't in alignment with bringing out your potential power. It means you're focused in the opposite direction. So that'd be my 2 suggestions for you to play with. So play around with that, Matthew, that should help. And then if you have more questions, chuck them here, but you can always chuck questions in the community as well. And I'm happy to answer them. If I catch them, sometimes they flow through the feed. Alrighty, so that was a really good question, Matthew, by the way. I have to wait sideways. Would this video be available? Yes, I'll put this video up to watch later. Yeah, I'll put it up to rewatch later, 100%, George, yeah, no problem. Concerning getting started with this process, I would guess it's about visualization of your center and its connection to the earth and sky perhaps. I'm wondering about the initial starting point. Every journey starts with the first step. Okay, so what's the first step? Cool. All right, first step. First step, good question, is just actually, my suggestion is if you're serious about cultivating, devastating and enormous amounts of power for your combat, and then of course the side effect is just being more joyful and focused in life because of what you've used to cultivate it, then my first suggestion would be making the decision to actually do it consistently and setting a routine. Because, there's no point doing it in fits and starts, like, you do it for a month every day and then you don't do it for 3 months and then you come back and do it for a week and then you don't do it for 2 weeks. And there's no point, because I've seen people like that come and go with training and their skill goes up and down and up and down. And it's just, for me as a coach, it's frustrating. But also for them in their skill development, it's just piecemeal. So my suggestion is to set a good routine with it. To set a good routine. That's the first starting point. So get your Google Calendar or whatever you use and put in every morning I'm going to do my meditation and state training and my 100 punches. Now, on a more practical level, so that's the kind of overarching thing, get into consistency. And then the next part would be, once you've set a habit and you've started, so you've set a plan and you've started to get into a habit, what should you actually be doing? In my opinion, you could be doing two things. You could be doing the state training. So the state is essentially all of the components at once, but you want to understand each piece individually. So alignment with that higher frequency, centering, sensing, syncing, seeing, and bringing it all together. Right? So you got the state. And then you've got the actual punch mechanics as well. So I believe you could do both. So you could be doing the state training while going through the punching. And each of the pieces will develop over time because you have the stance, you have the state, you have the punch mechanics, and all of those pieces will work together. So set your routine, get into a habit, and do the state training while punching. If your focus was purely just on developing power for a powerful punch. If you want to have a holistic approach to martial arts so that you have better defensive capability and you can actually strike harder in multiple different types of movements, then I'd suggest you actually do the state and the whole Siu Lim Tao form, the first form, because that gives you all the different auxiliary movements for defense, but also other potential offenses as well. So get into a good habit, and if it's just punching power you're after, then just do the chain punch, because it might be a time restriction or it might be just an interest. But if you have this one powerful punch, you're pretty good for self-defense. Like if you can punch a hole through anything, then that's an extremely good weapon to have for fighting. You might cop a punch, but on the way you just destroy. So it's still pretty good for self-defense in that regard. So set a habit, and then just practice all of them. Yeah. So do state training while punching. There's plenty of videos in the classroom section of state training, and also on my YouTube, on Spotify. So you can get it all free if you want to just, if you don't want to train with me in my private academy, whether it's financial or time reasons or whatever, that's fine. But you can get it all free here in the classroom, in the Spotify, and on YouTube as well. There's state training. There's hundreds of state training videos. So you listen to the state training while you do the chain punches. And there's also a chain punching video, so you can know that you're doing the mechanics as well correctly. So, fuck it, I might even put together a video where I state train you while chain punching. That'll probably, and we'll do it actually at the end of this, given we have time, which we should. All right, any other questions? Would you do exercises with an external target? Yeah, we answered that one. Okay, cool. All right, perfect timing. We've got some time left to actually do a state training, but since we're doing it in regards to developing punching power, we'll do it while punching. So first things first, let's get everyone punching hopefully as correctly as possible. So if we look at the actual mechanics, I'll go side on so you can see the view. The fist will, when it comes back towards you, it won't drop any lower than approximately the heart area. Now the reason for that is because then your fist is at the best position to defend the whole upper body. Whereas if I was here, it's harder to defend down here. If I'm lower, it's harder to defend up here. So you're right at a good point. You know, they say in Wing Chun to punch from the heart. So that's the concept there. You know, and then from here, punch from the heart, but that's a physical representation, punching from the heart, but there's also an energetic alignment with that as well, meaning you punch from the heart in the sense that you're aligned with your intention. You've got a good feeling in your center. And if you take back Nim from Sil Nim Tao to earlier interpretations, it actually means more from the heart or heart mind, because thoughts were believed to have come from the heart historically. But anyway, coming back to it. So the fist is in front of the heart, it reaches directly forward into a straight line, and the fist is aligned with approximately chin throat. And that's on purpose because, you know, firstly, that's the longest extension from shoulder to fist, but also that covers it covers my throat chin as well. Yeah, so that my vitals are covered too, or at least the throat. Sorry, I have another question. All right. I'm coming from the world of Taekwondo, which is very tension-based and all about power. I'm looking for a more relaxed state and never tried Wing Chun. I'm assuming to just follow the classroom training curriculum to get started. Yes, you can absolutely. So yeah, this is definitely a relaxed way of generating. So look, tension-based power is what I would call force, because you're developing force, you know, force on force, muscle on muscle. The internal Wing Chun system or the internal Kung Fu systems, because other internal systems develop similar stuff, is based on power, using the mind, the energy, the bone structure, and the delivery of one's whole space, so to speak, to generate power. Yes, you can jump into to answer your question, yes, you can jump into the classroom, and there's the Mind Power course, which outlines like the whole foundation, and then the step-by-step curriculum, you can do that. If you wanted to train with me more directly, with some of the guys who train in here, then you jump into my private paid community as well. Alrighty, coming back to it. So with your punch, you extend it all the way forward till it's a straight arm. Yeah, so it's pretty much straight. And that's your punch, you do want to straighten it. So your intention is to straighten it through the target, because that gives it that penetration power. The line that you focus on in front of you that we talked about earlier, you think of everything punching through into the target. Now, as you extend into the end point, the extension comes from the forearm through these three bottom bones in the hand to this part here. So you're extending forward. So there's a feeling as though the elbow is reaching through to the bottom three knuckles and fingers to this precise point. So there's like you will feel like a stretchingness, right? And you punch all the way through to feel that end point. So this is something you also don't want to be slack on when you're practicing your forms or your punches. You don't just want to leave your hand kind of sloppy at the end. You want to feel there's that straighteningness and that extension through here when you reach. And then you bring back. So as you bring this hand back, it slightly drops to clear the path for the top hand, which extends into a straight arm again. So you got shoulder, elbow, wrist straightening, this aimed forward to there, so you have a sense of penetration into the target. So get into this rhythm of punching. If you want to turn your screens on, then I can have a look at what you're doing. If not, that's fine. I don't really mind. It's up to you. So something to keep in mind as well is when you draw the hand back, try not to or don't point the fist off to the side. Make sure it's still pointed to the target. That'll train you to be still focused forward with the fist throughout the whole movement, but also when you're in close, say someone's crowded you, this can still be naturally pointed. You've trained yourself to connect the fist to the target, so you can generate power from in close. So notice when your hand comes back, it shouldn't be pointed off to the side. It should still be pointed to the target. Get that feeling of extension right through the punch. Make sure that that hand doesn't point off to the side, gentlemen. I can see some of you on your left hand coming back, you're pointing it off to the side. Make sure the knuckles are still alive. So there's still an aliveness and pointing towards the center as you punch. Now, keep your punching going as we will start going through the state training. Now, if you ever feel tense in your punching, just put your hands by your side if the shoulders are tensing up too much, and just relax and release and take a moment and then come back to punching, because we're not looking to develop tension in our system. So keep punching. Earth, tail, crown. So softly draw up from the base, sense your center, and as you sense your center, align yourself with your intention. So get that good feeling quality in your center. If you want to, you can close your eyes and imagine something that helps you to feel good, whether it's someone you love or a person, place, or experience, or your favorite food or your puppy dog, something that gets you into a good emotional quality. Because remember, if you're operating from the wrong level of energy, you'll be going in the wrong direction. So feel that good quality as you sense your center. So your concentration is earth, tail, crown, softly draw up as you get a good feeling in your center. Now, start to slow the punches down a bit. So slow them down so you can catch all of the micro sensations through the movement. So nice and slow, earth, tail, crown, feeling good. Now connect your center to the line in front of you. So see a line in front of you, and that your center and that line in front of you are connected like a plane. So this is called the center plane. So you're feeling good upright in your center. You're connected to that line, and that stays on. The hands are floating along that line. Earth, tail, crown, feeling good through the center, seeing that line in front of you, slowly moving through the punches. Now, as you keep going through those punches, using those good mechanics, keep that focus on. Just stay in the good feeling, centered in the good feeling, focus forward, like you're just enjoying the show. Now, as you continue with that good feeling punching down the center plane, sense the whole space and sink down through it. So be consciously aware of the sensations in your space, within and slightly around your body, and let everything sink down. So as you feel good, focused center to center, it's like there's a gentle shower washing down through your whole body. Washing down, sinking, releasing, relaxing. So keep punching slowly, because you want to be connecting the center and the sinking to every part of the movement. Every micro, tiny movement. Slow it down even more. Earth, tail, crown, feeling good, moving half the speed that you were moving before. So you can even think of just halving the speed. Every 2 punches, you can half the speed and just slow it down. It's very counterintuitive to other types of power generation where it's more about muscles and athletic development. But remember, we're training to be ageless in our skills so that we can use this up until before we're in our coffin, or cremated, it's up to you. So earth, tail, crown, feeling good, centering, aiming through to the center in front of you. So you feel that center plane connection. Then you sense the whole space sink down and release through. This is the state. You accentuate this with the good feeling, that sense of joy. It is joyful that we have a body, and it's joyful that we're cultivating our Kung Fu. If you can't feel joyful, just feel better, meaning move your emotion in that direction. Like if you're feeling maybe guilty or shameful, just get angry, because it feels better. You understand? It's an upward movement of energy. Earth, tail, crown, feeling good, seeing that line in front of you, moving nice and slowly, sinking out, dissolving any tension points throughout your whole system. Okay, you can start to now build up the pace a little bit. Just get it to a nice medium pace, but keep the same condition. Earth, tail, crown, feeling good, sensing, sinking, releasing. And then you can just continue to build the pace up, but you're looking to maintain that same condition. You feel good in your center. You're nice and relaxed. You're reaching down the center plane. Time. All right, check it out. So you do that every day, and you can do it even longer. Then you're guaranteed to be cultivating great amounts of power within your striking. Essentially, that's just breaking down the Silnim Tao, or the mind power state, understanding it so you can consciously apply it. So that's pretty much it for today, gentlemen and ladies. If you, look, I'm going to be posting this video in the free community. If you do want to actually come and train with me and the other, we've got about 70 people in there training with us now, and I teach in there every day. We do punching power in there every day, and it's all depending on your level as well. If you are keen, I'll put the link in the community for you guys as well, if you guys want to come. But actually do a call with one of the coaches first. Don't just jump in straight away. We want to be sure we're the right fit for each other. I'll put a link in the community to do a call with one of the coaches, and they'll put together a training plan with you. And if we're the right fit, we can train together as well. All right, guys, have a fantastic weekend, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Much love, peace, love, and Wing Chun all day. Much love. See you guys.